everyone, Norm from Tested here at Comic-Con 2022. Now here with Brian Ono of EFX. Brian, you guys are showing off maybe the most amazing thing I've seen so far at the show. First of all, how are you doing? It's been a while.
Yeah, I know, 3 years, man. We missed you guys.
Well, in that 3 years time, you guys have been working with Garner Holt Productions on this animatronic Grogu. Tell me about this project.
Well, we started this project because, as you know, this became one of the most popular characters in Star Wars in a long, long, long time. But there was already so many really great products out there, including animatronic type products like from Hasbro and Mattel. So what we decided to do is go, we're gonna really step up the game and give the people really something special.
And really kind of bring it to life as a puppet, the way that it was, you know, it was hand puppeted on the show. There are various versions of the Grogu on the show.
Right.
But not only do you have the license for it, you work with Legacy Effects for the form, the dimensions, and the puppet form itself?
Actually, more than that, Legacy supplied us with all the master patterns for the head, the ears, the hands. They also gave us the patterns for the robe and fabric samples. And most importantly, they gave us the paint master of the iris of the eyes. Because as you know, with this species, how important the eyes were when they created Yoda back in the day.
Absolutely.
So we didn't alter the assets in any way. So this is probably one of the most authentic versions of Grogu that could be made.
Well, not just in the finish, but also in the movement and materials. And to that, for the fabrication and this movement, you guys turn to Garner Holt Productions. And we have Bill here from Garner Holt. Bill, we've not met before, but we've covered Garner Holt. You guys make some incredible animatronics for theme parks, for events, and a long history of that. Garner himself, an amazing engineer and designer of animatronics. How did you guys get involved and what went into the making of this?
So we've known Brian for a few years, and he knows us and our work in parks and other locations around the world. Incidentally, next week is Garner Holt Productions' 45th anniversary.
Amazing.
So this is kind of a fun thing to get to reintroduce that in our company out to the world. Came to us asking if we would be interested in working on this project. Of course, we jumped at the chance. It's so exciting. This is such an appealing character and a major challenge from an animatronic standpoint. He's not very big.
That's right.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on. So he has 15 individual functions inside of his body, moves up and down, arms moving, eyes blink, ears are moving independently, mouth moves, head moves, all that sort of stuff. It's something that's the size of the cantaloupe. Represents a big engineering challenge to do that.
And a lot of that seems like you have things extended into hidden in the pram. You're making use of the volume that's provided by the pram.
Yep.
But Grogu himself, he's not fixed per se in terms of locked in position. He does like have body expression as well.
Correct, exactly. Yeah, so we thought first the pram is a perfect form factor for doing some cool magic with that. Every bit of him is contained within that. All of the show control elements that are going on behind the scenes, power, and then the animatronic functions inside of him. So yeah, he can move within that volume as well. But it's kind of a perfect venue for him, so to speak.
You talk about the constraints of his head, the form factor of his head. And I'm sure you and the team wanted to put as much expression in the head.
Yep.
The way I understand animatronics, it's a combination of movements that create the life of a character. So can you walk me through what those combinations are, what people should be looking at when I look at it? Is it eyes and ears, brow? What are the things that are moving?
So it's anything and everything. Right now, there's an interesting functionality. We have two opposing motors that are making his head go up and down. With that, though, we get a nod and a tilt together. So some fun things like that. All the programming combines into a combination of things that give that realistic performance. But even more than that, it's how those mechanical things tie in with something like the skin. Yeah, that's so key to that. You know, we lose something like that, even beyond the movements, you've lost the character. And so those interfaces, how those bits of skin move with the mechanism behind them is key to making him look like he's alive.
Are the mechs and the servos directly mounted to the silicone here, or do you have some intermediate,
it's both kinds. So yeah, for some things like the ears, for instance, that'll be like a post that's coming off of a motor, rotates the ears. For something more complex like the cheeks moving or the blinks or something like that, there'll be a specialty interface that goes between the actuator, the motor, and the skin itself. And the other big thing we're trying to do here is longevity, because we're using our theme park knowledge to come into something like this, a character that's not going to look good just the first day you turn it on, but forever.
Yeah, and that's something I don't think people understand. We're making a puppet for a show versus for an attraction, a location-based experience.
Exactly.
When you guys design an animatronic and you hand it off, you don't want to have to be back every week to maintain.
Absolutely.
Some of these things are running nonstop,
Exactly.
24/7.
Yep, in parks, casinos, places like that, yeah, they literally never turn them off in some like locations. But for film, it has to look good. You get the shot and call it a day.
That's
For
right.
something like what we do, we're running 12, 15 hours a day, every single day in a park. And for a lot of our customers, the performance of those things from a character standpoint is their revenue. So it has to look good, it has to perform all the time. And that incidentally is reflected in some of the differences in materials and even cost in what we're looking at here.
So let's talk about performance as well. You have the levers in your control box in the show interface. I've seen, sliders, basically have all these ways that you can activate the rig. Talk about the process that the team goes through to create gestures and create a cycle of animation.
Sure. So we're using the same kind of miniaturized show control that we use in theme parks for this, little tiny boxes. And we have a specialty software that goes with that called ShowForge that we're using for that kind of animation. And with that, we can pick individual functions, we can create macro gestures and expressions and things like that that we can call up to build a show. You can hear the sounds he's making. Those are real soundboards from the show. So we have all of those things. Basically, every time he's ever made a sound in any episode, we can address that and use that to build up a little performance.
This thing is it's a bespoke product. You guys are making them as people are going to be ordering them.
Yep.
Brian, Bill, I saw that in the spec sheet. It's not necessarily a fixed design either. You guys can scale from the 15 servos here up to almost twice as many.
Yep.
Like at that point, what can Grogu do?
Right, so we have a second version of this that has 25 individual functions, and that's not even the top. And it adds little details like a lip curl and his eyes moving back and forth, and his fingers can clasp like this. So it adds just more and more senses of life. In fact, one of our team came up with this wonderful idea to make an illusion where he would hand the little knob from Mando's ship from one hand to the other. And it's this wonderful trick that we can share some video of that with you, but it's beautifully done how that works. All of that's just in service to bring it more and more to life, but it is bespoke. It's almost like a custom car or something like that where you have a basic chassis and then everything else is as the customer wants it.
And it really is a team effort as well.
Exactly.
The team at Garner Holt, everyone has their hands from fabrication, from engineering, from animation.
Yep.
Everyone has worked on this?
Absolutely. So GHP is the ultimate collaborative experience. As you know, when you visited us, there is no one person there that does everything. There are 15, 20 different disciplines that go into anything and dozens of people that have their fingerprints all over this kind of work from start to finish.
And what's it been like for you guys, Brian and Bill, to have this right at Comic-Con and for crowds to come and take pictures of it and with it?
It's great. I mean, it's for the fans, right? And most people, it's kind of out of their price range, and we'll admit that right up front. But just the enjoyment of being able to see something like this is satisfying to us.
We feel like at GHP, nothing we do is done until the first time a guest sees it. And then it becomes complete because that reaction is the missing bit.
Absolutely.
And this has been tremendous here.
Oh, and that's why I'm so happy that I'm able to come to Comic-Con this year, catch up with familiar faces, meet new people, and also meet this animatronic. Thank you both so much for bringing this here, and congratulations on a wonderful puppet.